What's going on, everybody? I'm the FlyTyinGuy, and this is my Sculpin pattern I call El Sculpido. To start this pattern, we're going to use a size 2 Daiichi streamer hook. Let's go ahead and pop that in your vise. And then I'm going to run .03 lead wire around the shank of the hook. I want to make sure we're leaving enough room to tie in the tail as well as the head. So just kind of middle third of that hook is going to where we want that lead. We'll be using a gel spun olive colored thread. So first step is let's go ahead and tie this lead down secure to the hook here. Just going to go ahead and run a bunch of tight loops through there. Run it back through. And then we're going to get ready to go ahead and tie in our rabbit fur tail. Once we have that lead secured down firmly to the hook, I'm going to go ahead and take barred olive Zonker strip, and I'm going to size it according to the hook, however long I want my tail to be, leaving a little room in the front there so I can tie down this piece at the end. So I'm going to kind of look where my thread is right here. I'm going to pull that hair up. And with my whip finisher, I'm going to take and kind of separate some of that hair and make sure that I'm not tying any of that fur down. So that's going to leave me a nice, just pretty much a strip of leather right there. Go ahead and wet that. Make it a little easier to tie down. And place it right on that thread. Just make a couple loose wraps. And then go ahead and secure that down pretty firmly. Always make sure that you're still going to have enough to tie down in the front there, because it'd be pretty upsetting if you do the whole fly and you realize at the end that you can't tie that rabbit strip down at the end. Next step is we're going to add our flash. We're going to be using two types of flash for this fly. This stuff right here called Estaz Petite Opalescent Olive. Other stuff we're going to be using is a Polar Chenille olive brown. That Polar Chenille, go ahead and tie that in. And then right on top of that, we're going to tie that other flash in. Make sure you clip this, get all the excess off. Let's go ahead and tie in our Estaz Opalescence right here. Go ahead and move that thread to the front of this lead wire. Wrap this flash, making sure that all those fibers are sticking out and we're not wrapping over them. Clip off the excess. And let's go back with that Polar Chenille, kind of comb it out, fluff all that stuff out. We're just going to wrap right over that flash we just tied in. Want to make sure we're leaving enough room for our wool head, because we're going to be tying a wool head here in a second. Once I have that flash, and I like to just kind of comb it all back and really secure that down and make sure we're leaving a nice, easy, clean area to work with for our wool here. So that's what we have so far. Before we do our wool, we're actually going to put on some little pectoral fins on this guy. I like using a soft hackle hen saddle patch. Just looks something like that, speckled brown. And just take a couple of those little feathers. We're just going to strip off all that unnecessary fuzzy stuff there and just leave it just like that. And you can see how it kind of curves up, concave, so we're going to make sure that we're tying this in so it's curling away from the body. And let's go ahead and secure that in with a couple loose wraps. From here we can kind of adjust these fins to how I want them to look. I like keeping them kind of long, gives it a little more character. Once you have where it is, just go ahead and tie it down real tight. Trim off that tag end here. Come in on the other side, same thing. Pull off all that fuzzy material, the base of the feather. And we're going to tie this in right on the opposite side. So we pretty much have something looking like that right there. Now we are ready for our wool head, and I'm using an Icelandic sheep hair in light olive. Real good, easy material to work with. We're just going to take a big clump of this, and I'm going to point it right the head, around the eye, kind of comb it out, grab it with my other hand, just do one loose wrap, tighten, another tighten, and pull all that stuff back right here, just like that. And that should be enough wool for the entire head. We'll kind of trim that up here in a little bit. Flare it out, make sure everything's looking good. I'm liking that. We'll go ahead and kind of trim this up, making sure we're not cutting any of our flash or our fins that we just tied in. And just kind of shape that to what you think a sculpin head would look like in the water. Take a little extra up on the top because we're going to be pulling this bunny rabbit right over top of it like that. Before we do that, let's just go ahead and make sure we got everything looking good. Go ahead and pull all these flash fibers to the side so we're not covering any of that up. We'll take that bunny fur, pull it right over top. It's going to give us something just like that. Go ahead and pull this hair out so we're tying it clean down to the hook there. Go ahead and do one wrap, tighten, and really crank down. Don't want this part coming up because this is the most crucial part of the fly. Once we have that down pretty good, let's go ahead and trim off this excess. Just like that. Kind of clean up that head a little bit. And we're ready to whip finish. I'll whip finish this and add a little Zappa Gap or head cement to the top so this isn't going anywhere. Alright, so that's that part. Now the next step is going to be adding our eyes. In order to do that, we're just going to kind of find the spot where we want our eyes to go. I'm going to go ahead and kind of trim just a little pocket for those eyes just to go right into. It'll be a little easier gluing once we start doing that. Do that to both sides. Just trim off a little of that. That looks pretty good. Now I'm going to add, first of all I'm going to take my hologram eyes, holographic eyes, 3D. And I'm going to take two of those and separate them. Let's get them ready to use. And I'm going to take my Zappa Gap and I'm going to drop 2 drops on one side. Let that kind of soak in. Go ahead and flip it over, drop 2 drops on that side. And now I'm going to let that sit for about 30 seconds and that should solidify and make a really strong base to work with. Alright, after letting that set, I'm going to go ahead and do 1 drop on that hardened super glue right there. 1 drop. I'm going to take one of my eyes, just going to pop it right on there just like that. I'll go back to the other side, do another drop, take my other eye, I'm going to fasten that down, whoops, right there. Now I'm going to pinch both the eyes together, making sure I'm not super gluing my own fingers, which kind of happened right there. Just going to kind of push there and make sure that those things are on there pretty good. If you do this right, these eyes will never ever fall off. And that's about it right there. Hope you guys enjoyed it. This is a great fly for up in Colorado, Alaska, Montana, pretty much any water where there are sculpins in the system. So hope you enjoyed it. Have a good day. Thank you.